People are starting to come in. Hello, Maria. Hello, Carol. Hello, Connie. Hello, Peter. Hello. It's great to see you. I'll say, Susanna, how are you? It's great to be here again. I'll say what I always say when we start these off. It would be fantastic if we were in a conference room in a lovely hotel somewhere and looking forward to a glass of wine after this session, but we're not. So for the time being, we have Zoom at our disposal. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you to everybody for signing up. Just a couple of little pieces of housekeeping. For anybody who is watching this on demand on YouTube, please subscribe to the EuRA channel. We're trying to increase recognition for relocation, and that's a fantastic way of doing it. So if you can just hit that little subscribe button, that is brilliant. Please feel free to use the chat. Hello, Tad, you can put a hello into the chat room at any time. It's great to have that interaction. If you do that, just remember where it says "to" at the bottom of the chat room, you need to switch that from panelists to panelists and attendees. The Zoom default is panelists only. So if you want to talk to everybody else, all the attendees, then just scroll down and hit panelists and attendees, and that will make sure that anybody sees your comment or your question, not just our esteemed panel. We've got 95 people signed up for today. We'll probably have half of that come in. So it's great to be able to welcome you to this selling in the digital age, an incredibly important topic that actually you brought to us for the spring summit. But we felt that with so many things going into the summit, we wanted to concentrate on this separately and also make sure that it was available on demand on YouTube, which the summit sessions are not. At the moment, they will be, but not for a few months because obviously people signed up. So it's my great pleasure to introduce, if you don't know Elena Antoniak, it's definitely time you got to say hi. Expat Global. Elena and I have known each other for many years, and we had some very memorable days in Bucharest over our fantastic conference, which seems like such a long time ago. So Elena, I'm going to hand over to you and disappear, and you can start to introduce your panel. But thank you very much, all of you, for being here, and thank you, Elena.
Thank you very much, Dom, for the introduction. Yes, actually, it seems such a long time ago when EuRA was organized in Bucharest. Imagine that this was 8 years ago, if I remember well. So thank you, Dom, for organizing all this setup. I'd like to start with an inspiring quote from Michael Kortel, which says that selling a great idea has the power to shift perception, and that creates value. So no matter the industry people find themselves into, we are obliged, actually we have to, in one way or another, to sell, yeah. But the perception of selling has multiple valences, and it has changed along the years. Today we're going to find out how we can approach the always changing methods of selling in an era where knocking on people's door has become a bit dusty, in my opinion. I'm very honored to host such an exciting event and be among 5 great global mobility professionals, friends, and partners. And I would like to introduce you in an alphabetical order. I will start with Jeremy Bertou. Jeremy is a former legal counselor, currently managing director of Home Conseil, a quality certified global mobility service provider with 30 years experience in the relocation immigration industry. Full member of reputed international associations such as TIRA, EuRA, ARE, and others. And then Rohit Kumar. Rohit is the managing director and the co-owner of ICANN Relocation Services, which is an award-winning mobility management company based in India, in existence since 1996, offering end-to-end mobility solutions such as destination immigration and household goods moving services. They are a founding partner of Relocating Asia Pacific Group and members of several reputed international associations, such as EuRA, TIRA, and Worldwide ERC. Jordi Roca. Hi, Jordi.
Hi.
Jordi is director of JD Global Mobility and expert consultants on employees international mobility. JD Global Mobility is a leading global mobility consultancy with over 173 consultants in 5 offices in Spain, and they are experts in harmonizing legislation in tax, legal, social security, and immigration matters. Tobias Schonborn. Hi, Tobias.
Hi, everybody.
Tobias is the Managing Director of Point for Mobility, a provider of global mobility solutions for employee migrations and assignments, providing extensive support in immigration matters. And last but not the least, René Stegman. Hello, René. René is the managing shareholder at My Residence and director and owner of Relocation Africa, a global mobility service provider founded in 1994. And they stand as Africa's premier relocation, immigration, research, remuneration, and expat tax service provider. I would like to welcome everyone and thank you very much for honoring this invitation. And to start, I think that we should start with a question which has been asked in advance by one of our participants, EuRA member. And I think that this question can actually serve as a great way to kickstart the session. So we should start with the cold calling. The cold calling for me, it's somehow, it is a thing of the past, but we will still see it most probably in the next years. We will see how many years. So the cold calling has become a challenge during COVID. To get connected to the right person seems sometimes impossible. The operators are not allowed to redirect to the right people. And very importantly, people working from home, what I learned, don't take their calls. Yeah. Aside from the obvious restraints caused by the pandemic, is actually cold calling a method you have ever used in the past or are thinking of using it? What is your experience on this? Have you ever used it, but now you stopped and at some point replace it with something else? Jordi and René, what do you say about this topic?
Thanks, Elena.
Jordi.
Thanks, Elena. Well, I have to say, calling was something that we used to do probably 8 years ago, and with the arrival of the social medias and other ways to approach your clients, perhaps more indirectly, but also sometimes more effectively, is something that we stopped doing. It's something that I have a lot of respect for, because when we had to go through, that was that was challenging. Probably the pandemic and the situation with people working from home is what makes it more difficult now, because we're very busy in our day-to-day, and receiving a call from a service that you have not requested for, that I don't think that's going to work for much longer.
Thank you, Jordi. René, what is your perspective on this?
Yeah, no, so definitely when we started the business almost 28 years ago, we definitely were cold calling and, trying to educate clients, as well as just picking up the phone to anyone that we thought may want to use our services. I would say we still would direct calls towards a client now, but I would definitely not call it cold at all, because generally, and this will hopefully come out in some of the conversation, is through our social engagements, through our digital media that we're using, we scrutinize those mediums in order to target specifically which clients are interested in us or listening to us or conversing with us. So for us, I would definitely say, on top of which I'm afraid of cold calling, I absolutely hate it. I would say that it's hopefully a methodology left in the past.
I see. Okay. Thank you. I totally agree with you. I started with cold calling for 14 years ago, and I really don't like it at all. But René, you had a point. It should be warm calling from now on, adding a different perspective on that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Moving forward, one of the current buzz phrases right now, is the social selling concept. Meaning that building meaningful relationships via social networks and involve listening very closely to your audience, identifying triggers to engage, connecting with potential clients, and always finding ways to engage, because this is the word, always finding ways to engage with the potential customers. And there are a lot of studies actually showing that 75% of people using social media outsell their peers. social selling has the highest lead to close ratio of all prospecting methodologies. Salespeople using social media have almost 4 times more chances of meeting a decision maker and subject maker experts who are active on social networks. And this can generate business opportunities 7 times more effectively than all the other traditional marketing activities. On top, 75% of B2B buyers use social media to support purchase decisions. It seems that I love to hear myself talking. Please excuse me. Rohit, because I saw that you have quite a large number of followers on your own LinkedIn page and as well your company page. And I want to congratulate you. How did you align your businesses and sales to this change? How do you get people to know you? And most importantly, to trust you in the online? Yeah. How do you actually do your selling in social media? And here I'm thinking about what specific actions you have employed to set this in motion. Do you have a special person dedicated to this? Do you work with a special professional agency? How much time do you dedicate to this? Because after all, it takes a lot of time to really create relevant content.
Certainly. So let me give you a brief background first. So about 3 years back, we hired a salesperson in our Bangalore office. And we asked him, what are you going to do for us? And he said, I am a hunter. I'm going to hunt down business for you. I said, how would you hunt it down? I call and I call and I call and I call till they can't say no. And I get the business. Now, this gentleman had at least about 8 to 10 years of experience behind him in the industry, working with. So I'm talking about what, 3-4 years back now, and his tenure before that was 10 years back. So it was relevant at that time. But then he worked with us for a year, and a year later he had nothing to show. It was a disaster of sorts, and we had not started a social media initiative till then. But we took a lesson from there. We realized that this is not the way to do it anymore. So we were late starters to social media. One of the things that we did was we did a survey with our customers and also with our competitors. In fact, we called some of our competitors and we asked them, when we say ICANN relocation, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Tell us. And from that gathering, we realized that there are 3 or 4 things that were, that were positioning us in the minds of both customers and clients. One of them was technology and innovation. Second was our people, longevity of them working with us, and a few other things. So we focus on those 3-4 things, and we created content around that. And we put it onto social media from there, which ensured top of mind awareness with our potential customers in the future, and created more and more interactions between us and them. And as Rennie very rightly said, you track the interaction and what's happening there, and you pick out from there the interested parties, and then you make special appearance for them. Other than that, it also ensures top of mind awareness. So next time when an RFP comes out, they are aware there's a company called ICANN Relocation. They've seen it on the social media. They've seen content coming from us all the time. So that is the background and how we went about it. We do have a small team working on this in our offices in India. We come up with a campaign every few months, and then we follow through that campaign till it comes to an end, and then we do other campaigns. We also applied things like, besides LinkedIn, we've used Trustpilot, we've used Google reviews. All these help, increase your SEO levels, so visibility gets better as well.
You are talking about what is the size of the team dedicated to social media? Because you said that you mentioned that you have a team.
2.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
That's me and another colleague of mine. So we do that together.
Okay. So this means a very special attention to this topic.
Absolutely. And, as I said, we were slow starters. We had no idea. In fact, when we started social media, we benchmarked ourselves against 2 of our competitors, and they're at about 1,000 organic followers by then. So we had a long way to go before we caught up with them. But it seems it has worked, and we've pretty much caught up with them. And all of us are in the 2,000 range, and most of them are organic followers. They just came from the system.
Organic is always the best. Thank you, Rohit. Tobias, has it been proven a successful method for you? What social media channel do you usually use, and did you see the change? Did you feel it from what was happening in the past and with the new trends?
In Germany, finally, social sales arrived. Germany is always a bit late when it comes to digitalization, as you might know. It's becoming more and more popular. It depends on your target group, like who are you looking for? If you're looking for the huge global mobility professionals from the blue chip companies, it's a bit tough because this is a procurement-driven business. But when you have all the startups, you know, hiring a lot of foreign talents like from abroad, they are definitely in social media active, and you can onboard them as client or get their attraction as a follower. And Germany, special topic is we had another professional network called Zing or Crossing. It's a bit similar to LinkedIn, but very focused on the German speaking market. And there a lot of German people were active before, and they now switch or shift to LinkedIn, where there is more interaction active. So that's why Germany is also a bit late with LinkedIn, and more people move from this other platform to LinkedIn to get more interaction. But I guess in 2 to 3 years, it will be like a very famous platform, and everybody finally arrived there.
Okay, you are talking about the LinkedIn, yeah? It will be okay, because LinkedIn has 735 million users. For me, when I saw this figure, it was like, oh my God, it seems that the entire business is there. But Tobias, in terms of your approach as company, do you think that social media is extremely important? How do you go on with the sales?
Yes, we just kind of starting a campaign to get more and more active. Honestly, we hadn't the necessity in the past to be active on social media to get more clients because we had quite a big lead system in place. So we still had a lot of clients we needed to onboard. But now with COVID, everything's changing, and we are kind of focusing now to get more active on social sales, to build up a big community, to publish content, to get the trust of people. And with the trust later on, as also Rohit mentioned, they say, they need a visa or they need a work permit. I know this company where Tobias is working at, and they will get in contact with us or with the company to ask for the service. So we are a bit late, but there is definitely room for improvement in Germany, especially in our industry. It just starts right now to be active on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Tobias. Great, thanks a lot. Your answer takes me to my next question, which is on a more general level. My question is, our industry, do you think that our industry is ready to adopt digital and the social selling techniques not on a high level, on a deeper level? Do we actually see their value and importance or not? Do you think the industry has the proper mindset to speed up and align with the new trends? Because Tobias was talking about Germany, that Germany is a bit slow on adopting digitalization. But what about the industry? Jeremy, what do you think?
Thanks, Elena. And I think the industry is just as Germany and France, to be honest, a bit lagging as well, or at least was. I think the pandemic really helped it accelerate its change in mindset. So I think it's much better suited right now than it was 18 months or so ago to switch from a cold calling sales model to a more socially engaged and digitally engaged selling mediums. I think this shift also came because of the shift in our own services. I mean, who are we to go and sell going cold calling, selling digital services and virtual home findings and such. So I think it's only fitting that the pandemic accelerated change in terms of digitalization of service delivery as well as sales in our industry. And I think a really good example of that, a good proof of the fact that we're lagging is the noise, the tremendous noise and stir that has been caused by new entrants in the market. I mean, Elena, you're one of them. You're not the only one, but you're clearly in the forefront of both DSPs and RMCs as a potential competitor, partner, disruptor. So this is really, to me, the sign that the industry was and still is to some extent not ready to switch, but is definitely in the process of switching to those selling methods.
Thank you, Jeremy. Indeed, the pandemic actually helped us, it seems, with at least 5 years of faster adoption than it could have been before. Jordi, what is your opinion on this? Do you think the industry has the proper mindset to speed up and align with the new trends, or we're still behind?
Well, I agree with Jeremy a little bit. I have to say that few industries like ours had such a huge impact in our business last year. That was traumatic, and I'm sure, as Jeremy was saying, it made us all to change our mind and to. But at the same time, I think our industry is one of the few that have this mind to adapt to changes, to adapt to what the client is looking for, and I believe we already have the mindset to try to adapt. We just need to clarify questions. For example, we need to understand the differentiation when we are selling services of processing or managing process, instead of assessing or advising or giving advice on what is the best way, for example, in terms of immigration, or what type of work permit, in comparison to other countries, or even in our country, what type of work permit within all the many options that we have. One thing is that sometimes I think it's difficult for us to give enough value to that part. And on the other hand, we are good at the standardizing procedures and to, the case of Expat, no? On a marketplace, to say, well, this is what you're going to need, this is how long it's going to take, this is what the documentation that you need, and these are our fees. That part of a business, I think we are closer to where we should be. The other part is more challenging.
Thank you, Jordi. I will jump to my next question. I have a timing here, and I'm trying to keep the timing. My next question is, if social selling is leveraging social platforms and content as a means of driving business, then digital selling is actually creating an entire ecosystem that is leveraging all of the assets that are occurring both online and offline. Which one would you prefer, or would you rather create a hybrid between the two, and why? René and Tobias, what would be your opinion on this?
So I actually, I know you like statistics, Elena, and this statistic is probably a very similar article, but it came from McKinsey, which basically said, which typically our industry is a B2B. And I thought we might want to explain and sort of divulge a little bit more into business to business selling as opposed to business to consumer. And I think there's a possibility in our future there will be a business to consumer sales pattern. But McKinsey was basically saying the business to business sellers, that's us, and buyers have a preference for the new digital reality. And the reason they gave this is because it's ease of scheduling meetings, the travel cost savings, and increased confidence in comparison to a face-to-face interaction. I mean, some people can, they say can sell ice to an Eskimo. Where now you're online, you're now almost comparing a little bit flatter in terms of this is what I have, this is what I have. It's a little bit more flatter. And just to throw it in there, it's also a much more sustainable solution. But I do think that our industry is probably a little bit scared of this digital social space. And all I can comment on is to say that we actually all need to get brave and take the bull by the horns. And it really is changing and very fast. But also it is quite a, I would say, an evolutionary change. So, you know, you don't have to do everything today. I mean, there's so many platforms, there's so many different options in terms of which country you're in, which social media will work for you, which, you know, industry you're trying to target. I mean, the tools are diverse with MailChimp, HubSpot. I mean, we could sit probably for another hour just talking about those. So I think for me, the hybrid approach with face-to-face combining and building, as we were talking about, going from cold calling to building sort of an individual personality online, as well as your corporate or company personality, and then going, you know, putting that forward, building the trust, building your content, building your consistent branding and messaging to your audience. And then you'll see it comes quite easy. So the example I wanted to give, we did a recent newsletter, which possibly is going to fade out into the future, but newsletters, there are lots of them. And actually with Outlook now, it organizes all your newsletters like into other, not focused emails. So actually people who are going to read your newsletter either don't have that organization or are going specifically to hunt your content down. But then I went to go and scrutinize MailChimp and have a look at who was actually clicking. And if you scrutinize something like that in terms of your digital presence, you will then go and see, and you can actually see the email address of the person or people or business that is interested in your content. And then it's not a cold email, it's not a cold call. It's actually, we see that you have been engaging with our content. We'd like to have a chat, you know. So I just wanted to mention that. And I just think, just to summarize something else, visibility plus credibility equals opportunity. So you have to be visible, build your credibility, which takes time, which will then land opportunities.
Perfect. Thank you, Renee. Thank you. And you mentioned something extremely interesting, that clients they will go and check online. Yeah, they want transparency. And there is a saying in business. Actually, it's Jeff Bezos saying that you always have to follow the need of the client. So we have to listen on the client need. Yeah, the client wants transparency. The client wants options. Yeah, they want options, and that's clear. That's why the industry, in my opinion, must adapt sooner or later. Tobias, what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, first of all, well said, Renee. I totally agree. Like, it really depends on your goals. It sounds a bit like a lawyer if you answer it depends on. Sorry, folks. But it really needs to see what's the target group. Like, do you want to do B2B, B2C, in which market you are active? Is your target group in social media active? So you need to look at these components and then agree on the approach you choose. But I agree, like a hybrid is a very good approach. And looking forward, I guess like LinkedIn will be more popular than, for example, Google search. So people might look in their network, or they search in LinkedIn for some credible persons or for some providers, for example, and they don't use Google again. So like visiting your LinkedIn profile might get more followers than people visiting your website. So you need to look at both ways. And in the future, I guess it will be definitely social sales, which will win more credibility, especially if the millennials, you know, they are more in the game and they are in procurement, they are in global mobility, and the older persons kind of were not so familiar with those tools. They are not so decisions maker anymore.
Thank you, Tobias. I totally agree, and I like this idea with LinkedIn, because for me, when I saw, you know, the number of professionals and companies all together are in LinkedIn, yeah, 756 million members, it's huge. So yeah, it might be really a warm selling point, this channel. Talking from a strategic point of view, would you say that you prefer one more than the other, or we think we should combine digital with social selling? Jeremy and Rohit, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I'm not gonna bring anything original, because I do also, as Tobias and René, think that a hybrid approach is best. Running a 30-year-old company now,
Congratulations.
thank you, has taught me that word of mouth is really the best tool for selling, and that's what I hear when I hear about social selling in the digital age. So LinkedIn is the marketplace of the village, but the village is quite larger and there are more people, but still you have to have a good reputation there, but it has to be sort of confirmed by other connections and well, obviously positive experiences from your clients to be effective. So I think this is what I mean by a hybrid model, and combining the two, because going with one or the other would mean that, well, if you're only going with word of mouth, you're going to have clients that are all based in a 10-kilometer radius around you, and going only with the digital selling, or selling on social platforms, will mean that you will have many connections, but none of them will recommend you, and that's why I think there are merits in both.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rohit. What would be your?
I personally feel that for our kind of business, I think we should avoid Instagram, we should avoid Facebook, because they're literally social medias. You know, it's to share your own stories, where you travel, etc. LinkedIn is one of the tools that I would like to focus on. Having said that, 2 days back, I posted something on LinkedIn. I posted a news item from India about how the epidemic had slowed down and there was a reduction of 50% cases. And a lot of people visited that article, and there were a lot of likes, there were a lot of comments. And there's one individual who came up and said, "Why are you posting this? Will this lead to me getting a job?" And it was a pretty hard hitting message back to us. And I think that's what has happened. LinkedIn previously, maybe a few years back, or when it came into being, it was meant to basically connect with each other to get a job. But today we use it beyond that. Social media, if I may call it social media, but some people don't want to call it social media. But yeah, so digital is going to be like the Moore's law. If you can apply the Moore's law to this, it's going to increase in its effectivity and its impact every 2 years. It will double its impact every 2 years. If that be the case, we can't ignore digital media, and we need to be a part of that. And the faster we get on the bandwagon, the faster we will get there. So I would say adopt digital media fully, completely. Social media is something that can be done separately. I would WhatsApp a friend, but I will not WhatsApp a client. I would probably add Jeremy on my Facebook, but I may not add the global mobility head of Microsoft on my Facebook, at least not right now, you know. So yeah, I would think that where we are heading from here, we will need to we will have to step away from a hybrid model and start to go purely digital, and everything that's available in the digital world, we should start using it for our benefits.
Thank you, Rohit. You know, I really like this. I really like your approach. Like LinkedIn should be used for business, and then the other networks, social networks like Facebook, this network would go somewhere into a more personal area. But I'd like to share with you, I don't know if because I'm getting older, our social media team is much younger than us, the seniors. And they really come to us and say, look, we are talking about human to human selling, and we should be present in everywhere. We should be present on Facebook and so on. For me, was like, okay, but business is business, and personal is personal. And all our seniors are very much into this. I will not introduce a client into my Facebook as a friend, because we are not friends. but it seems that actually it's quite different. At least maybe it's something that applies to our generation. And I think, as you think, what do you think, Renee, about this?
So interesting. So we just also recruited a very young person in our social media space. So I just wanted to say, social media could be part of your brand building. And again, I mean, I see some of the comments, you know, LinkedIn may be banned in some countries. So we can't sort of say that there's one size fits all. So for me, what we are doing is we are using Instagram, building. So what you're doing in your social media journey ultimately is to get sales, but sales is not the start of your journey. For me, it's part of the journey is, well, the ultimate outcome is your sales. What we're doing is we're building trust, we're building content, we're building a brand. And so, you know, we want to build Africa, we want to build, you know, Relocation Africa on the continent, or My Residence. And so Instagram is great from especially the temporary accommodation perspective. You know, people want to see where you are, your locations, the buildings, the properties. It gives them confidence of who you are. And then remember, all of these social media platforms have a bio opportunity. So within your social media platform, you can put, and by the way, this is business social media, not Renee Stegman's social media account. I don't necessarily want to connect with my business people on my social media account, but on my business account, I certainly want everyone I deal with in business to connect. So Clubhouse, I'm sure you guys might have all heard about Clubhouse. Clubhouse is absolutely massive in the US at the moment, and it's coming. It is, and I'm on it fairly often. But again, Clubhouse gives, it's a different medium. It's only you can't see yourself, you can't chat. It's purely talking audio. And on their bios, they got bios this long, everything they do, and they all connect to Instagram. So while you're on Clubhouse, you can chat through Instagram. So I think, you know, we really need to understand all of these social mediums and what they can do for us, what our country limitations are, what our business limitations are. And I think just a comment to leave everyone with just a thought is, we need to be seen, we need to be found, we need to be useful, and we need to add value. And so it is very important for us that we are present on as many social media platforms, because I think David Gilmartin mentioned in the chat that, you know, if LinkedIn is banned in a certain country, what does it, is he out of the loop of business, you know? So I think it's important for us to understand that we have to engage as many platforms as possible. And now WhatsApp, by the way, is WhatsApp for Business, a feature. You can make it a business, and we use it a lot to communicate with our consultants on the continent of Africa. Most of them will get this message first, way before their email. So just my 2 cents on that.
Excellent insight. Thank you, Renee. Yeah, it's true. It really depends on country, on continent, and we have to consider what fits us all. Before taking any questions from the audience, we have our own element of surprise here. So I would like kindly to ask, you to ask and to choose another member of the panel and ask him her a special question of interest. Starting that you can choose anything but related to the topic. I think we can we should start alphabetically. Jeremy, if you would like to be the first.
So my question will be to you, Renee, because I don't think we're in agreement. Well, I don't have your approach in terms of using all of the social media. My perhaps backwards thinking is that LinkedIn is for business and the rest is for leisure. So that's the approach I basically put in place. I'm only basically present via LinkedIn for my business. I personally don't even have Instagram for my own personal use. So what kind of customers do you gain through those less professional social media? In the sense that because you mentioned B2B and B2C earlier, so I think you have a good grasp there. My fear is if I put Home Conseil Relocation on Instagram or TikTok, I'm gonna end up with buttloads of Brexiters that want to set up shop or their house in France, and we're not set up to accompany them because they're not willing to pay our fees mainly. How do I work around that? And is this the kind of experience you've had with your social media approach?
So Jeremy, again, I do touch a couple of different industries. So just on, and I understand the Instagram concern. So most people who are following Relocation Africa or that we are following are all other relocation businesses. So our aim right now is not pure sales as such. It's more building a reputation and a brand. So if any of those companies see my brand somewhere else, or they know they hopefully have built a trusted relationship, they can ask questions that are pertinent to us. So two, on an immigration perspective, there are a lot of individuals who we deal with. And so from an immigration perspective, I think Instagram is very valid and very appropriate, because you may want to be engaging with your clients from an immigration perspective, because these are the people who are moving, all over our continent of Africa, who have various questions, and especially with COVID and the restrictions of travel and that sort of thing. I get your concerns, I really do. I have to say, I've got a 22-year-old who's running our social media and has pushed our content in terms of Instagram, but it is getting engagement, and it is getting sort of more conversations. And that's part of what I wanted to say, is conversations are important here. And that's how you build this, not a cold call, a conversation with another person. So that's, I don't know if that helps you, Jeremy, or answers that part. I think it is how you use it and what content you put on.
Okay, thanks.
Are you happy, Jeremy, with the answer?
Always happy with René's answers.
Very valuable. The next should be Rohit. Rohit, what is the question that you want to address, and to whom?
I haven't thought of a question, but
make it as a surprise.
Yeah, well, you remember that question that came by recently, which we said that it should be your swimming lane.
Do you want me to ask the question for Elena?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, Elena. Taking the Amazon model, one thing I think our industry is quite nervous of is basically making pricing transparent, okay? And I think, for me and in our business, I'm certainly not scared of putting my pricing on, because I don't believe that people should be, or businesses should be, purchasing us purely from a price point perspective. They should be looking at us from a quality, reputation, service records, and those sorts of things. But I have noticed our industry is fairly scared and hesitant. So just taking the Amazon model and having those prices online, how do you think our industry will cope if we start going more B2B2C or B2C and disclosing prices, Elena?
Thank you, René, for this question. I love it. Because right now I'm reading a book which is called The Gift of Fear. And what I want to mention here is that actually I had this fear before, because I'm a business owner and I built an offline business for many years. So I really had this fear, So in my perspective, unfortunately, Expat Global, is a closed marketplace ecosystem. And I'm saying unfortunately, because as opposed to Amazon, which is open, and all our business advisors, actually former Amazon VPs and so on, don't really fully understand the closeness and secrecy about pricing. But this is our industry at this point, and we at Expat, we understood that we have to respect that for the time being. The main fear in our industry is that the competition can find out our prices. But this is actually, in my opinion, a bit hilarious for 21st century, because you can do benchmarking right now without any marketplaces available. You can do that now in less than 24 hours, right?
True.
And we have been benchmarking for years now. Any one of us in less than 24 hours can find out the competition prices. So you don't need the marketplace for this, right? To get back to your question, how the industry will cope, I guess the best answer is to reinforce the power of choice. All of us as clients want choices. Yeah, we are clients as well to somebody else or to brands and so on. And this power of choice, yeah, the prerogative of any marketplace, is one of the essential things clients are looking for. All clients want choices. All of them want to choose the best from best and the best value for money. And the second most important thing is transparency. Clients do want transparency and options. So I believe at some point in the future, our industry will have to steer where the clients steer, towards choices and transparency. So the clients definitely will look for places that would satisfy these needs. It's up to us if we want and we have the capacity to meet needs or not. I hope I answered to your question.
Great answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next would be Tobias. Tobias, you have a question for one of your peers in the panel?
Yes, I think it's a question for Rohit, which is because you are very active in social sales. Would it be an idea for you to, for example, exchange salespersons instead of hiring a salesperson, doing like a campaign, you know, paying for LinkedIn or Google ads money instead of hiring a salesperson? Do you think that's an option or that's a future?
That's the hybrid model. That certainly is. Yeah, I think we cannot do away with salespeople for a simple reason that when you go for contracting, when you go for negotiation of rates, and when you go for presentations, physical, I mean, we are going through a very, very amazingly different kind of timeline right now. Last 2 years has been, you know, it has changed the world, but that doesn't mean the world won't come back to how we operated initially as well. So yes, the cost of LinkedIn can be very high as well if you want to. So there is something called a sales navigator, which is available as part of the LinkedIn, as a part of a LinkedIn tool, which is expensive, but then you need someone to be running that navigator as well, right? You also use things like the in-mail and other kind of campaigns that you can carry out. All those add cost to your campaigns. If you want to release an ad on LinkedIn, it will add cost to it. So we don't realize, but if you start to unleash the entire power of LinkedIn, for instance, it can get quite expensive. Then you need someone driving it. And finally, at the end of it, when you go for closures, you need someone, a physical presence as well. So to your question, a social media tool, or shall I say a digital media tool, like LinkedIn, is basically a weapon in the hands of the salespeople. You can't do away with them. They are a necessary evil. You will need to have them, but you're arming them with more weapons now.
Perfect, thanks.
Are you happy, Tobias, with the answer?
Yes, no, it was a good answer.
Jordi, what would be your question?
I will have an open question for all of us. I would like to know if any of you has already implemented a chatbot to automatic kind of automatize the reception of leads. If you have, what are your experience? And if you haven't, if you are considering it.
I can answer at least partially, because we're in the process of putting one together. So I don't have much feedback for that at the moment. And apart from the fact that I had really big plans for it, and the dragon will lay a chicken's egg, as we say, as it is from a computer science perspective, kind of a very, very complicated tool to put together, at least for immigration purposes, because, well, it seems just like for sales, we're not ready to part with human beings delivering our services. So at the moment, I think it's a great tool to be hip, with the flow and not behind the wave. But at the moment, I think we have much of the learning curve to climb to get there.
I think it will be interesting to see if that helps you with the crowd of Brexiters trying to find a place in France, not being your specific client target.
But Jordi,
maybe
do
I
you have...
can continue because
Sorry,
yesterday
go on.
I agree with Jeremy. We also had different thoughts about implementing a chatbot, but we don't see the value of the investment yet because, as Jeremy mentioned, it's very complex. You need to put a lot of effort in it to deliver the content, to program it. And what's the outcome? That people get information for free? I don't know, or you get new leads. So far, I cannot answer these questions. There might be a yes and no. But I think going forward, when the technology or the programming and the content becomes easier to feed the chatbot, then it will be definitely a tool. And also, if the users are more practiced with it, if they know how to use it, then it's easier. You might all know the Amazon chatbot. I hate it. I always try to find someone calling me back or that I have someone on the phone because the chatbot, I don't know, it's not very helpful in the end.
That's a very German way to say this.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm German.
Rohit, how do you answer to this question?
Sorry, you asked me something?
Yeah. How do you answer to Jordi's question? What is your perspective in regards to the chatbots?
No, I think a chat box can be very, again, it can be, it's a weapon, it's a tool in your hands. A lot of people, a lot of customers, potential customers, people who you already built social connections with, they are looking at a quick response, sometimes a very quick response. There are times, so we work on, different time zones. For instance, we have a little chat box in our website. Someone goes to the website, they have a question right there and then. It's middle of the night in India. They can leave a message there with their contact information and we are able to get back to them the next day. Alternately, if they're in the same time zone and one of our respondents are online, they respond immediately. We're able to engage with them on the spot. We're able to give responses on the spot. So I'll give you an example. My daughter is 22 years old now. Last year, I sent her an email which was very urgent. She had to fill up some forms which had to be given to the bank. 1 day went by, no response. 2 days went by, no response. 3rd day, I went to her and said, listen, I sent you an email 2 days back. Why the hell haven't you replied? And she said, listen, who sends emails these days? So that, so if you look at it from a millennial's perspective, and a lot of our customers, I'm 50 years now, but a lot of our clients and potential customers could be 27, 28, even 30, 32, and they may be in a completely different thought zone. Absolutely. And, a quicker response system, if you have enabled, it might just be beneficial, I think.
Yeah, I love your answer, Rohit. I was in a similar scenario. In my house, we have the Google device. And a couple of months ago, I was talking to one of my colleagues about something, income tax in a certain country. And I was like, okay, let's check what is the income tax in that particular country. And my daughter, who is almost 10 years old, I don't know, she was near me and then she disappeared and then she came back with the answer. And I was like, what is going on here, so she just went to Google and she asked like, well, please Google, tell me what is the income tax in Iceland, and she came with the answer to me, and it was like, okay, so I don't need to give to phone anybody. It was amazing. Yeah, it seems that we still to catch up. We need to catch up with the tools. But Jordi, why do you ask this question with the chatbots? Like,
in our case, we align perhaps a little bit more with René's approach, that we try to put as much content of quality through as many channels as possible. It's not a thing of a generational gap. I think it's just the tools that we're used to and we grew up with. At the end of the day, one of the good sides of that is that you receive a lot of visitors on your posts, and so you're kind of repositioning yourself in a way that the more you're visited, the more Google will position yourself in the future. So that's a very good thing to indirectly gain clients. The downside is, as Jeremy was saying, that you might receive a lot of inquiries from people that are not objectively your target. Now, the chatbot I think if it's useful for something, it helps you to determine whether a lead might be interesting of you or not. You know, it helps you to identify the type of client. It also helps you to identify what are the concerns, of what are the questions, what are the trends, because you can kind of categorize the questions and all that. So I think it will be our next natural step, and this is something perhaps some of us are looking into 5 years time, 10 years time, but I think it will be quicker than we expect now, because it's very useful for you and it takes you a lot of work. It's not perfect, but again, B2B will be more directly from linked sales, or have to talk about Facebook ads or Google ads. It will be one way to get B2B clients, but B2C clients is going to have to be massively, and it has to be done. You know, you need to have the capacity to receive all those questions and interactions, and I think Chatbot is going to end up imposing.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm totally in. We are building our chatbot. Her name is Ina. And actually, as Rohit mentioned, and Jordi, it's quite useful to use it, especially if you work with different time zones and you need to collect minimum information and to keep the client warm. And then, of course, to be handled by a consultant, by a human. So I think very soon we will deal much more with the bots. I think that somehow we managed to finish with all our questions. I would like to take a few questions from the public. It seems that a lot of things happened on the chat. We have a question here from Divakar Gupta. The question is, how many of you do paid campaigns on social media channel? And if yes, how much of your marketing budget do you spend on SMM? Who would like to answer this question? Renee?
So I did see that question earlier. We don't actually do any paid at the moment. We, in fact, traditional methods of paying for adverts in mediums, we believe very much, like Jeremy referred to earlier, word of mouth, our reputation, and that sort of thing. So actually, one great hint that I got was we did pay for a very short time on Google AdWords. And then we stopped that, and someone said, well, get onto Google My Business, because by placing content onto Google My Business, it's like placing a Google ad. So that was a really great free tip that I received, and that we actually have been a bit slack lately, but we will increase our Google My Business presentation. So yeah, I mean, I guess it will differ from company to company what your marketing budget is and how much you want to spend. I mean, we've been around not quite as long as Jeremy, 28, almost 29 years now. And, you know, we do believe in that, but we believe in pushing a lot of content through to build that trusted, reliable source for hopefully clients to engage with us. And it would be remiss of me not to mention that, you know, everyone on this call today, we should all be going to the socials and connecting with each other, because you can then benchmark what others are doing on those socials so that you can either do some similar or relevant. So just one of the things we actually started today, it's hashtag Relocating, and our aim is to sort of nurture an interaction with our clients. And so we're just asking expatriates on issues and concerns that they have, and in turn our aim is to reply with any tips back or to share some lived experiences. And the question we asked this week was, what are the 3 things expats should know before relocating? Now, it seems so obvious, but actually, you know, after, I mean, I'm an MBA strategic marketing person who loves technology, but, you know, I'm still learning. And I would just say that I said earlier, be brave. And I think, you know, there may be a lot of content here and a lot of information, and people go into this little mini spin. But I would say the first thing is get onto some socials. Clubhouse, for example, I've just been listening in or contributing. Also, if you find on socials that you comment on a LinkedIn post, you start getting engagement. People recognize you, your name, they're interested in your company. And earlier I said be visible. You can't be visible by not commenting, not saying anything, not putting relevant articles up. So you need to be present. So that's, and give information that is valuable, so people will want to further investigate some, services with you. But Rohit made a good sort of point earlier about, LinkedIn being sort of the job. Is it not a place? Why are you posting this? Because, how does it help me finding a job? I think that's how quick social media is changing. But also, I think one of the key things is don't just put content up, which is a lesson I've learned in the last 2 weeks, without some call to action, getting them back to either call you, press a button, like you. So just bear some of that in mind. This is a big topic.
Yeah, for another session. René, thank you. It was really great. I think that we have a lot of questions actually. Most probably Dominic will jump in a couple of minutes and he will cut the show. He will be the party breaker. I will take another two questions that I see here on the chat. I would like to answer to all the questions. My proposal is that we will collect all the questions that we get on the chat, the ones that we didn't answer through the panel, and we will prepare a document. I will send the questions to you, and if you don't mind, let's answer to the questions that we received. And we will prepare a very nice document and a nice material which will be posted on LinkedIn. So the next question I see here from Ken Nicolaine, are your clients not on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok? I think this is maybe a question for Rohit.
Certainly. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they follow TikTok, and I'm sure they have Facebook, and I'm sure they have Instagram as well, right? And many other social medias too. But do I want to approach them through that media? Having said that, the gentleman who assists me with my social media campaigns, my digital media campaign, is a much younger man. He's in his early 30s, and of course he said we have to be on Instagram, and we have to be on Facebook, and we have to be on this, and we have to be on that, and we are there. It's not that we're not there, but the impact of what Facebook has done for us, the impact of what Instagram has done for us in terms of followers increasing has not been there as it has been. I mean, the fact is that whatever content we release on LinkedIn, we also release it on these other two mediums as well. But the following hasn't increased as much. So if someone was to say, do you want to release an ad on LinkedIn? I'll say, yes, why not? Though the gentleman who asked the question, Divakar Gupta, he's my partner and business partner. He's also a very big miser. And every time I go to him with a budget and say, release this money, he says, no, we don't have that kind of money. But if I was to be given a choice to release an ad, I would rather do it on LinkedIn and not on, Facebook or these other mediums, because of what we have experienced in the last 2 years. I'm very sure, Nick, most of the people we probably know socially and also professionally have their Facebook accounts. But I'm not sure if that is going to work very well. It hasn't worked well for us so far. That's what I can say.
For me, TikTok is the hardest. Believe me, I got a huge pressure from my team that we have to do things on TikTok, and I'm just probably it's because of the age, right? That's why. Here we have a very short question, René, for you from Preeti Rongta. René, is it called Google My Business?
Yes, it is Google My Business.
Okay, we have a long list of comments as well as questions. It seems that most of the audience is quite happy with the outcomes and what they've learned from the session. Is here a comment very interesting, and I'm leaving with some good tips and suggestions. Thank you. Thank you very much. It seems that we exceeded the panel with 5 minutes, but I think it's really great. Dominic, I'm not sure if you're still with us.
Oh, I am indeed.
Good morning.
That was a fantastic session. And in fact, in the year that we've been doing these briefings, we've never had so many comments come through the chat. So that really did get to exactly the points that people were asking for. And I mean, it's such a fascinating topic. I think we should come back to this and actually do a briefing on using LinkedIn, using Facebook, using Instagram, using TikTok. In each one is a huge topic in itself. I think what's so interesting to me when you were talking about, obviously, you know, what you're doing, what we're doing as an association on social media is completely different. But what's so fascinating to me is, well, Elena, we were talking about, we use Hootsuite, which, you know, enables you to shoot everything across all of your accounts with one thing, which is very good. But it doesn't take into account the nuances of the different social media platforms. Mm-hmm. You have to really think about that. Instagram is, and so, you know, Elena, you'd said, can you do @Expats? And I tried that in Hootsuite. Sometimes it picks it up, sometimes it doesn't. You know, there's all these technical details as well, which are really interesting. So there's loads more we could discuss on this. So thank you so much, Elena, Tobias, Jeremy, Renee, Geordie, and Rohit. This has been fascinating. For everybody who is still with us, this I will get edited and put up onto our YouTube on demand, and I will send you the link directly because you all signed up. The Q&A, you'll be glad to know, Elena, that stays within the report that I get back from Zoom, and I've copied the chat into a document so I can send that on as well. But I mean, again, you know, don't hesitate to reach out to any of our fantastic panelists if something comes up. Renee.
I want to just ask or suggest, you know, I went to a LinkedIn workshop at some stage in my career, and it was incredible because everyone sat there with their laptop and then had to do all the things the LinkedIn person sort of told us to do. And I just think it could be such an incredible way to immediately get the entire EuRA membership, firstly, all following the EuRA or LinkedIn site, but also just connecting with each other. There's some fantastic, you know, easy, quick wins. One of the things I've just learned on LinkedIn, for example, you can pull in your featured articles from your website straight into your LinkedIn profile. Now, I've been on LinkedIn fairly often, and I only found that out. So I think, you know, the audience certainly could use, you know, a workshop like that could add direct value to them.
I really hope that from now on the topic of selling in the digital age will be the beginning for more innovative approaches and discussions. And at the same time, we invite all of you to reflect upon the viable solutions for growing your business and take the right action. Thank you everyone for your time, and really I wish you a great evening.
I have one last question for Dom.
Okay.
Dom, does this mean that Seville is off?
Does this mean that Seville is off? No, no.
Yeah, no. So
I mean, with every fiber of my being,
exists, okay, but face to face is very important.
Deity that exists in the universe that Seville is on. You know, it's really important. We're hoping to run a short event in London in September as well. We don't know what things will be like by then, but we have that scheduled for the 29th and 30th, I think. But it'll be on the EuRA website shortly. But I think it's really, really important that as we look to develop the programs for the upcoming events, these forums, the way of doing a big panel session in a big room on this stuff, look at the engagement that we got. So we'll definitely take that forward, and we'll do some more stuff. And a lot of things come out of these things. I mean, Renee, you were on the panel about sustainability in the Spring Summit. We're now developing with Paul Barnes and with you a MIM Plus module on sustainability. I think there's so much information in this topic. We should be doing the same in terms of selling and digital media. So, you know, one thing that's come out of COVID, it's brought the EuRA members' expertise right to the fore. You are all so brilliant at this. So we will capitalize on it for the future. In the meantime, again, just thank you so much, everybody. Tomorrow, if anybody is still listening, if you're still out there, we have Room 101, which is just a fun Friday afternoon wind down of what really winds up the panelists on the panel. So you can sign up for that on the EuRA website. It's the same as this. It'll be a Zoom webinar. Next week, we have the RMC DSP Forum Part 2, following on from what was in the Spring Summit. There was so much in that they wanted to continue talking about the supply chain and how that's going to work. So we're looking forward to that too. So all that remains for me to say in the meantime is thank you so much again, panel. Fantastic session. Elena, thank you for bringing it forward. We will all be talking about where we take this from now. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Great.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.